They laughed when he walked into the room, but by the time he left, no one was laughing anymore. It was supposed to be just another networking gala for the city's social elite, a sparkling evening filled with designer suits, polished laughter, and people trying too hard to impress. But that night, something unforgettable happened. A man named John Kennedy, dressed plainly in a modest suit and worn leather shoes, would unknowingly become the center of a story that would teach everyone in that room a lesson they'd never forget. John wasn't the kind of man who turned heads. His clothes didn't scream wealth, his watch wasn't some luxury brand. He spoke softly, smiled politely, and didn't seem eager to talk about himself. So when a group of well-dressed attendees began to whisper and chuckle behind his back, no one stepped in to stop them. They assumed he was out of place, a middle-class man who had wandered into a world he didn't belong to. Probably someone's driver. One of them joked, loud enough for others to hear. Another smirked, or maybe he's here to serve drinks. Job heard them, of course. He just smiled and moved on, making his way toward the refreshment table. He poured himself a glass of water, standing alone as the laughter echoed behind him. To the snobbish elite, he was invisible and irrelevant. But what they didn't know was that John Kennedy wasn't just successful a broken bar, he was extraordinarily wealthy. John was a self-made man. Born in a small town, he grew up in a family that could barely afford the basics. His father worked double shifts at a local factory, while his mother took odd jobs to keep food on the table. From a young age, John learned that nothing in life was guaranteed, and that humility and hard work could move mountains. After graduating from college with a degree in computer science, John started a small software company out of his garage. For years, he lived simply, working endless nights to keep his dream alive. When everyone else gave up, John kept pushing. His breakthrough came when his startup developed a cutting-edge logistics algorithm that revolutionized how global shipping companies tracked and managed cargo. Within 5 years, his company was worth billions. Yet, John never changed his ways. He drove an old pickup, wore simple clothes, and avoided flaunting his wealth. To him, success wasn't about showing off, it was about freedom. But to the people at that gala, image meant everything. As the evening went on, the event host took the stage and began introducing special guests and keynote speakers. When the announcer said, "And now, please welcome our next speaker, tech visionary and philanthropist Mr. John Kennedy," the room went silent. The same people who had mocked him minutes earlier froze in disbelief. Their smug smiles vanished. The driver they'd laughed at was the keynote speaker, and not just any speaker, but the man who had anonymously donated millions to the city's education fund. John walked calmly to the stage, microphone in hand, and began his speech. "I've been in rooms like this before," he said, his voice steady but warm. "Rooms where people judge others by what they wear or how they look. But success doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes, it wears humility." The audience shifted uneasily. Those who had laughed now avoided eye contact. John continued, "I grew up poor. I've been looked down on. But I've also learned something important. Your value isn't in what others think of you. It's in what you do, what you create, and how you treat people when no one's watching." By the time he finished, the room erupted in applause, a genuine, thunderous applause. But John didn't linger. He smiled, thanked them, and walked out quietly, just as he had entered. Later that night, whispers spread like wildfire. People Googled his name, shocked to learn that his net worth was over $3.5 billion, making him wealthier than nearly everyone in that ballroom combined. The same people who had mocked him earlier were now posting flattering photos, pretending they had always admired him. But John didn't care. He went home to his modest house in the suburbs, where his wife was reading a book and his kids were asleep. He smiled to himself, knowing that true success doesn't need applause, it only needs peace of mind. A week later, the story of that night went viral. Headlines called him the billionaire who walked among the snobs. But to John, it was never about revenge or embarrassment. He hoped people would learn something deeper, that the worth of a person is never determined by appearances, but by character. Because in the end, those who mocked him lost more than their pride. They lost the chance to connect with a man whose wisdom, kindness, and humility made him richer than money ever could. The moral: never judge a person by what they wear, where they come from, or how they appear. The quietest person in the room might have the loudest story. The most humble might be the most powerful. And sometimes, the one you underestimate a broken bar is the one you could have learned the most from. This story isn't just about John Kennedy. It's about all of us. A reminder to stay humble, to look beyond appearances, and to treat every person with respect. Because you never know who's standing right in front of you. A broken bar, or how much richer their soul truly is.